see, or she'll be reading the Bible, or she'll be reading a magazine, newspaper. But this particular day, we're doing ABCs. A, B, C, and all of a sudden, boom, the door opened up, and who is it? It's Master Herod. And he sees what's going on, and he says, Sophia, you teach those little Negroes how to read, then they're going to want to escape. Don't teach them how to read. And she looked in awe. But Hugh, I didn't know. Now you know. Don't do it again. And she responded by saying, yes, honey. Well, Master came and he stood in front of me. When he came and stood in front of me, quite naturally, I bowed my head in shame and scared half to death. So he says, Frederick, you're not here to read. If I catch you reading, you're going to get the worst beating you ever had. You understand? Yes, Master. And he said, no reading. And I said, Master, I'm never going to read, Master. I hate reading. Reading is bad, Master. I never read. I will never want to see another book, Master. He said, don't forget that. Yes, Master, I don't want to read. I was pouring it on thick. So when he left, first thing I'm thinking to myself, my mouth said, I'll never read. But little lady, my mind said, I'm going to read everything I get my hands on. That was my first introduction to evolutionists. And I had no idea what it was. Well, as time went on, believe it or not, Mr. R would send me to the store on errands. I'm smiling because when he would send me to the store on errands, he would pay me to go to the store. Would you believe that? So, with a little bit of audience participation, how much do you think that Master would pay me to go to the store? Anybody want to take a chance? Oh, we got one. How much?
$1.
$1? Well, I tell you what, you are too far off. Sir, if he would have said the right one, I was going to do a somersault all the way around here. Anybody else want to take a chance?
5 cents.
Nickel? No. I heard 5. Yes, ma'am.
3 cents.
No, ma'am. Sir?
2 cents.
One more. One more. Do I have one more? No, you cheated, sir. Go ahead. There you go. You said it, but you cheated because you had 1 cent. Okay? Yes. He paid me 1 penny per errand to the store. Now, here's the trick about going to the store. Before I would leave the house, I would go to the kitchen and I would break up bread and I'll stuff my pocket with it. And just for the sake of him taking pictures, because I want him, he might want to get this on camera. So I would leave the house and I would skip like a child to the store. And when I got to the store, they were little white boys at the store hanging out. And when I came up, they were like, hey, Freddie, how you doing, Freddie? And I'm like, how you doing? How you doing? Because, see, they were hungry and I was hungry. But we were hungry for 2 different reasons, 2 separate reasons. They were hungry. I was hungry. So what I would do, I would challenge them. And I would go to them and I'd say, okay, how do you spell hat? Oh, Freddie, and I was like, you don't even know how to spell hat. We do know how to spell hat. Well, you ain't spelling it. H-A-T. And I'm like, that ain't how you spell it. Yes, it is, Freddie. Well, if that's how you spell it, then I dare you. Spell it again. H-A-T. Oh, y'all joshing. That ain't how you spell it. Yes, it is, Freddie. I'm not spelling it no more. Well, I don't believe you. Now I turn my back on them because they know I got something to eat. And they say, okay, Freddie, we'll spell it again. Spell it again then. H-A-T. Now, the method to my madness is I would have them spell it 3 times. Why? Allow me to explain. 1, the first time they spell it, it just hits my frontal lobe. The second time they spell it, it's starting to stretch back to my membrane. The third time they spell it, ding, 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 it's back there. And ma'am, I know how to spell it, H-A-T. And so once I know how to spell it, I go in my pocket, ma'am, and I give them some bread. And I give them, well, we didn't do it back then, but I'm just going to emphasize. Then we give each other a high five. Thank you, ma'am. That's right. Matter of fact, for you, sir, we just dab each other. But anyway, moving on. Well, those pennies that I would earn, I have you know that I saved those pennies. Anybody want to take a guess what I did with them pennies from saving them? Go ahead.
Did you buy a toy?
Did I buy a toy? No, I didn't buy a toy. Go ahead, young lady.
You bought a book?
I bought a book. There you go. Well, I bought a book, and the name of that book was no other than the Columbia Orator. Inside that book, the Columbian Orator, there were speeches, 30 of them, from well-known dignitaries in America at the time, such as, just to name a few, George Washington, our first president of these United States. Thomas Jefferson, second president of these United States. Quincy Adams, yes. And to move further, how about Edgar Allan Poe? And I keep forgetting the gentleman that wrote the Star-Spangled Banner. Somebody help me out. What's his name again? Francis Scott Key. There you go. Now, excuse me. Edgar Allan Poe. I'm supposed to ask the question first. You got to stay out of my mind. You know I'm 201 years old now. Well, what I was about to pose to you, Edgar Allan Poe, Francis Scott Key, Frederick Douglass, and myself, all four of us have something in common. And it is Baltimore. Baltimore. Give her a round of applause. Well, I learned every speech that was in that book, to the point that I can speak it verbatim without even looking in the book. And as time moved on, quite naturally, I got older. Time moved on, quite naturally, I got bigger. Time moved on, I got aged. Time moved on, my vocabulary began to increase, and not only increase, but it began to improve my speaking abilities. Well, I'm probably 15, 16 years old at the time. Master Art is talking to Miss Sophia, and he says, you know, I noticed something about that Frederick. His vocabulary does not sound like a slave. I think that boy been reading. And if he's been reading, well, I got something for him. I'm going to loan him out to another plantation, and we're going to break him. Well, that's what they did, sir. They loaned me out to another plantation, Master Corvée. Now, Master Corvée was a poor master, meaning that he was not financially stable, so that meant that a lot of the work that needed done on his plantation, he did it. So that's why we called him the snake, because you couldn't get over on him because he already knew how everything should go. Well, and he also had two slaves. He had a female slave who was big and burly, and his initiative and his mission with that female slave, who was 21, was to mesh her up with a man so they can create what? Baby slaves. So he had a man there as well. And then I come along, that makes 3 slaves he has. Well, when I first walked on that plantation, I have you know, I walked on the plantation such as 6 months later, I was walking like this on the plantation. Why? Because from the day I got there, his mission was to break me. And he whipped me every day. And most of the time, it wasn't for a reason, it was just because he needed to break me, because I was too small. And he broke me so much, sir, that I got to the point where I said, I was going to be a slave for the rest of my life. I was a nobody. And I have you know, one day we managed to get a day off on a Sunday, and I was down by the Chesapeake on the ridge, just watching the water flow through. And I started talking to the water, and I said, I wish I could be free like you. I wish I could go north and go south and be calm like you. You have all the freedom in the world. You have no cares. I wish I could be like you. I'm just going to be a slave for the rest of my life. So as I'm walking back, I ran into two guys, two white slave owners on a horse. And they stopped and they started talking to me. And they said, "Are you a slave?" I said, "Yes, sir." So one slave owner said to the other slave owner, he said, "He's a handsome looking slave." And then he says to me, he says, "Young man, you should run away. You should run away north. We'll tell you how to run away." It sounded good to me. However, I couldn't trust because I could mount up and go run away, and next thing you know, they catch me and they turn me in, and I was getting the whipping of my life. So I just listened to them and I smiled, "Yes sir, yes sir," as they went on, because it stayed in my head. For some reason, after they told me that, I started getting rejuvenated. I started enjoying life. I started thinking about the possibility of escaping. So I went on back to the plantation. The master started whipping me again. And one day we were out fanning the mill, and I was the middleman. Slave here, slave there. They passed it to me, I was pick it up, and I had to pass it to this man, and he put it into the machine. Well, this particular day, I'm down, I started getting pain in my side. And this slave says, Freddie, you better get up. You know master's a snake. He'll sneak up in here on you." So I managed to pick up the hay, and I walked a little bit with it, but this time I tripped and I fell, and I couldn't get up. And he says to me, "Freddie, you better get up. You know master will be here in a minute." And I'm holding my side, and all of a sudden, I see 2 feet there. And I hear this, "Freddie, what's wrong?" And I fell into the bait. "Freddie, what's wrong?" And I say, "Master, I was in pain, master." "Where you hurting at, Freddie?" I fell into the bait. "Where you hurting at, Freddie?" "I was hurting right here, master." "Move your hand, Freddie, so I can see it." "Yes, master." I fell into the bait. And all of a sudden, when I moved my hand, he kicked me in my side. And when he kicked me, he managed to turn around and he got a switch. And he just started whipping me with the switch. And he burst my skin here. He gashed me with blood flowing down the side of my face. And as the blood is coming down the side of my face, I turn and I run. I ran 7 miles back to Master Huard's home. And when I burst through the door, crying, bloody, I say, Master, please move me away. Please move me away. They're killing me." And Master just responded by saying, "Frederick, you must go back. You're there for a whole year and you still got 6 months left." "But Master," and all of a sudden, ma'am, the saving grace, Miss Sophia. Miss Sophia said, "You let Freddie stay." You know, that was a relief. And she paused, because I thought the rest of her sentence was going to be, "Let Freddie stay forever." She says, "Let Freddie stay tonight." So I go upstairs and I wash up and get myself prepared, get me a good night's sleep in bed. The next morning, which was Saturday morning, I wake up. There's a aroma going up my nostrils. I didn't wake up because it was time to wake up. I woke up because of the aroma going up my nostrils. So as I began to make my way down the stairwell, you know how you walk up and down the stairs, you can hear yourself hitting the steps? Well, my stomach was growling so loud, I couldn't even hear me hitting the stairwells because of that aroma that was going up my nostrils. And when I got down to the kitchen table, what did I see? I saw eggs, bacon, I saw sausages, coffee, tea, I saw flapjacks, grits. Oh, they had the works. So, ma'am, I put my hand on the chair because I was about to sit down and indulge. Well, Master just stood up and he said, "Frederick, I left. And I went all the way back 7 miles to Master Corvée. Now I want you to take notice of this right leg here. When I got to Master Corvée and I went to go over that fence, guess who was coming? Master Corvée was coming with a whip. So I took this right leg from off that fence and I hightailed on up out of there. And I stayed gone for maybe about 2-3 hours. Then I come back and I take that same right leg and I put it over that fence. And who's coming again? Master Corvé's coming with that whip. I take that same right leg again from that fence and I run. But this time I run. And I run in the hood, in the woods. And then I saw this black man. And he said, Freddie, come over here. He was a free black man that lived out in the woods with his wife. And he says, Freddie, come. So I come. And I happen to have the opportunity to stay the night. Sunday morning I woke up. Well, they were having breakfast. They were having eggs, bacon, coffee, tea, flapjacks. And guess who got a chance to eat? I did. And I ate like there was no tomorrow. So all of a sudden, this free black man, Mr. Rucker, I believe his name is, he said, Freddie, come go with me. I said, okay. So I go with him, we go out in the woods. And while we out in the woods, he starts digging like a dog. And he gets so far down, and then he grabs a rabbit foot. And he said, Freddie, you put this in your right pocket, and that mean old master won't touch you again. So I said, oh, hogwash. I don't believe in superstition. So he said, okay, no problem. You leave the rabbit foot with me, you go back and get a whipping. I said, you know what? Now that I think of it, let me get that rabbit foot. And I put it in my right pocket, and when I went back, that right leg again, I went to go back over the fence. Who was coming at me this time? Master Corvée. Well, he didn't have a whip, but he did have a smile. And when I went over that fence, he came at me, and he put his arms around me. He said, Freddie, where you been? Good to see you. I'm thinking to myself, old rabbit foot. So we walk off, and the last thing he tells me, ma'am, he says, okay, Freddie, tomorrow, would you be so kind to clean out the barn tomorrow? Notice how he said that. Would you be so kind to clean out the barn tomorrow? And I said, yes, sir, master. I'll be there. Well, Monday morning came. I was out there in that barn. And I was out there cleaning out that barn. And all of a sudden, the door opened up. Who is it? It's Master Corvée. What he has in his hand, he got that whip. And he lashed that whip out, and when he lashed it out, it tied around my ankle. And he was pulling me. And I bent down somehow and managed to pick that whip up, and I started wrapping around my arm. And as I wrapped around my arm, I started pulling him to me. And as I pulled him to me, we got into it. And we went round and round and round and round for maybe about 2 hours. But in the course of this 2 hours, he stopped and he said, Freddie, you must want to die. And I said, Master, I guess I was going to die today, but you was not going to hit me no more. And we went again, and we went again. And then all of a sudden, he started screaming, help, help, help! So one of the slaves came in, I think his name was Isaiah, and he came and he put his hands on me. When he put his hands on me, I kicked him. And he said, oh, shucks, Freddie, why you kick me? Get out of here, get out of here. So he ran off. And then all of a sudden, here comes another slave. This slave came in, he opened up the door, and all he did was, and he shut the door, and he went on about his business. The third slave, I think I told you earlier, she was a female, but she was burly. And I said to myself, I hope she don't come in. Because if she come in, she's just going to beat the living mess out of me because she's so big. I'm a big guy, but she's bigger than me. And all of a sudden, she saw what was going on, and she said to Master, Master, you didn't bring me here to fight with Freddie. So I'm not going to fight with him. And you know what she did? She left. And boy, I pushed him off and I wiped my brow because I was scared. So after she left, we went to battling again. And next thing you know, here's the question for you all. Who got up and who stayed down? Who got up and who stayed down?
Ready to go.
There you go. And Master stayed down. And maybe about 2-3 months later, you know what Master had the nerve enough to tell me? He said, Freddie, I could have whipped your behind. I should have whipped your behind now. And you know what I said to myself, ma'am? I'm like, Master, you better keep going because you don't want none of this. And you don't want none of this. That's right. Well, as time went on, they moved me to another plantation. This time I go to Master Freeman's plantation. Everybody say Freeman. Freeman. Yeah. And the reason I wanted you to mention it or say his name because on this plantation, Master Freeman, he was more or less free. Meaning that we had to work, but once we got completed our work day, we were more or less free to do what we wish. And you know what I wish to do? I wish to have 20 or maybe 10 to 50 slaves gathered together so I can do what? So I can teach them to read. That's right. And, believe it or not, we will have Christmas vacation. And you know what I would do with my Christmas vacation? I would climb up in the trees. And I would read and I would look down at everybody else. And what those other slaves would be doing, quite natural kids, they running, racing, wrestling. And then the masters would even have they would bet on some of the slaves that, I bet you, so-and-so, look at them, look at those ends. They gonna get drunk. So what they would do, they'd go out and put the liquor out there for them to drink it. And I would sit there and I'd say, look at it, falling right into the trap. And some of the slaves, when they get drunk, they will fight each other. My master better than your master. My master paid me more than, I bet you don't love your master like I love my master. And I would sit up there like, I don't understand. Well, at times we will have these readings and these gatherings, but in one of them, we had Judas. And Judas went back and told the slave master that we were in there having readings. And Judas told the master, said, you need to go in there, you need to whip Frederick. Because he's the one that's rounding up these meetings. And I have you know, ma'am, not Master Freeman, but all the other slave masters came in and started beating their slaves. They arrested me because they said I was the head master. They said I was the one that was writing all those passes for all those slaves to go to the store and run away and do what they wanted to. Well, it was true. I was the one that was writing passes. The fun part about this whole thing, you know, not the beatings and what have you, but the fun part was when they arrested me. And when they arrested me, they took me to jail. They took me to jail, man, and I, instead of crying, fighting to get loose, that was a happy moment. And the reason it was such a happy moment because I get a bed to sleep in, I get to take a bath, and most importantly, my stomach gets full. 3 meals in the cot, they call it. I got it. But on the outside of the walls, I can hear the slave masters, Frederick, we're going to kill you. I'm going to buy you and I'm going to take you home and I'm going to strip you. I'm going to strip your skin off your body. I'm going to kill you and then I'm going to sell you. Well, they took all the other slaves and they sold them. Yeah, they sold all the other slaves. But they held on to me. And even my master said, Frederick, I have a good nerve to send you to Alabama. Sell you for $1,000. Keep in mind, sell me for $1,000 because I was once young, strong. They'd get many dollars for me. But my master instead, ma'am, Master Art said, Frederick, I'm going to take you back to the home. And when he took me back to the home, he taught me a trade. He taught me how to be a ship carker, how to build ships. And, ma'am, he had the nerve to let me go out and sell my craft. Yes, I got a job. And the job, sir, was paying me $6 a week. Yes, sir. And, sir, when I went home, I had to turn that whole $6 over to Master Huard. He felt guilty. So by him feeling guilty, he gave me some of that $6. How much you think he gave me some? How much you think he gave me? He took the 6, but he gave me some out of it. How much you think?
4.
For what?
$4.
No. You know what? One time he's going to say the right answer, and I'm going to have to somersault around him. All right? Make sure you got your your phone on speed dial, 911, okay? Frederick done broke his neck, okay? No, it wasn't $4. Anybody else want to take a guess? 50 cents? No. How much you said? A quarter? No, you hold on to that quarter though. Anybody else? Go ahead. Nope. Go ahead. Take a wild guess. Nope. I'll give you a hint. We only got 10 fingers on our hand. We only got 10.
10 cents.
So how much you think? No.
5.
Ooh, you close. You are so close. You hot. You hot. Well, before he said I have to do the somersaults, let me do it. Let me say it. 6 cents. I give him $6. He give me 6 cents. And the reason he gave me 6 cents, man, because he was feeling guilty. He was feeling guilty. He was taking my money that he did not work hard for. Well, eventually, I wound up getting another job. And I got a big pay raise. Instead of $6, now they're paying me $10.
Wow.
$10. And guess what? I went home and I gave Master $6. How did y'all know that? I gave Master $6, all right? And Master gave me a raise. And guess how much he gave me a raise? He raised me from 6 cents to what? To what? A quarter. That's right. And believe it or not, with that quarter, I became the richest paid or the highest paid slave with that quarter. Now, I gave him $6. I kept the $4. And with that $4, I used to dig a hole out in the woods and I would put them $4 in that hole because I had a plan for those $4. So when I was at this shipyard working, believe it or not, the other white men, even though there were other slaves that were working there, but a lot of them wouldn't get paid. So believe it or not, all the white workers that were there, because I was such a good worker, they would call me, Fred, go get that log. Fred, go get me some water. Fred, get over here and get that. Fred, all I heard was Fred, 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 Fred. So it seemed like I was going in 100,000 places at one time. And then at one point, they started hating me because I was doing my work and I was doing good work. So after I had my battle with Master Corvée, I said I would never sit down and allow anyone to beat on me without me fighting them back. Well, they attacked me and we fought. We fought and we fought. Well, quite naturally, I can't fight 10 men at one time. So they beat me. As a matter of fact, they hit me so hard one time, it was almost like they had took my eye out. And my eye was out like this. It's like I had a concussion. And I went home and I told Master Huard about it. And one thing I love about Master Huard right to this day, sir, is when I told him what happened, he went to the shipyard with me in tow. And he got into that manager's or that boss's face. And he said, I dare you to allow your men to beat up on my Frederick. I want to press charges right now. And then he asked me, he said, Freddie, do you know the guys that beat you? Yes, master, I do. Well, guess what the boss man said? He said, not unless you got others who saw what happened, it don't matter. Now keep in mind, there were black men that were out there and they witnessed this, but their account did not count. So master had to drop the case. He had to drop the suit. He lost the argument right away. So he took me back and he let me go on another job. I still was making the same amount, still putting away the $4. And in the midst of it, guess who I met? I met a wonderful young lady by the name of Anna. I started courting Anna. Anna, I was probably about 19 and she was 18. And I told Anna my plans. So what Anna did, she sold a lot of her merchandise to raise money for what I had in mind. Now, I'm not going to tell you what I had in mind, because if I tell you, somebody walk out here and tell, all right, and I get caught. I'm looking at your faces. I remember your faces, okay? So what happened is, Anna came up with a sailor suit, red shirt, shoes. She also, ma'am, came up with a fake ID with an eagle on it. Well, September the 3rd, 1838, at the age of 20, I made my blast. Train, me sitting in the seat. I had a window, so I sat there. And in the rear, there were 3 men, black men, that were sitting like maybe 3-4 seats back. And I heard the conductor coming through, and the conductor was saying, tickets, ticket, ticket, tickets, tickets. And when he got to the 3 men back there, he started shouting and screaming at them. You got your ticket? If you don't have your ticket, I'll turn you in right away. So quite naturally, I'm hearing this, so I'm starting to get a little jittery, a little nervous, scared. But to my amazement, when he approached me, he said, do you have your ticket? Where are you going? You're not running away, are you? So I said, sir, I do not have a pass. You do not have a pass? Where's your pass? Sir, I usually, when I travel, I usually leave my pass at the fort. Oh, so you're in the military? I said, yes, sir. I said, in the military. He said, you got an ID or something? I said, yes, sir. So I kindly went into my jacket and I pulled out this fake ID. Now keep in mind, I'm sitting by the window. There's a seat here, and he's in the aisle. So what I do with my pass, instead of doing one of these, I did this. So he could see my pass. Because what I really wanted him to see, ma'am, was the eagle. And once he saw the eagle, well, he was satisfied. He said, now you sit here and you don't make a sound the rest of this trip. I said, no, sir. I was not going to speak, sir. I was going to be the quietest one on. I'll be so quiet you think it's Christmas morning, sir. That's right. Well, we eventually made it to New York. It took us 24 hours to make it to New York from Baltimore. How fast does it take to get to Baltimore from Tampa now? Driving? How long? No.
2.5 hours.
No. How long do you think? 15. I've made it in 15 hours. As a matter of fact, the police is still looking for me. Because it usually takes 18 hours, but I've made it in 15 from Tampa. So anyway, I get off the train, and when I get off the train, I see all these wonderful people, especially black men and black women. Black men, they walking with nice suits on and tall hats. And when the women, they would walk by, the men, they would bow to the women. Madam, madam, that's all I heard was madam. And the women, they have on these big dresses that go all the way down to the floor. I didn't know if they were walking or if there was something under there that they were sliding on, because you didn't see their feet. All you saw them doing was moving. And all of a sudden they had a little pocketbook and what have you. I thought that was so awesome. Wow. And then as I look around, there's signs or poles. $50, runaway slave.